All right, hold on. Before we start this, I better gear up real quick. We're gonna have to go
Are
like
you
this. All right.
so
Yep.
legit
All
question?
right.
Are you a ICE slash HHS agent here to arrest me, or are you hiding from them?
Oh, I'm hiding from them.
Okay,
I
because
don't need them to see my
when they show up to arrest, they have masks and whatnot on, so you could be either one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a good idea. You know what? I could just get a whole ice outfit and then I could just blend in.
You know, there's been two or three people so far in the last 100 days that have gotten arrested for basically impersonating ICE officers, like people that have tried to claim they're ICE and like do a citizen's arrest on somebody they think is an immigrant.
Oh,
In all three cases, it was not an illegal immigrant, and that person then went to jail. But they were claiming they were like a deputy with ICE or something. Anyhow,
so they like arrested them, brought them in, and then they got arrested?
they didn't actually arrest. I think the person they thought was an immigrant ended up calling the cops on them, and then the cops showed up and arrested the supposed ICE agent. So,
I'm
because
literally gonna like find a lawyer that I can make sure that I have their number so that if something does happen, I have somebody to call.
yeah, I don't think anybody's gonna care about you, man. Like, is if you go away, nobody you don't have a wife and kid to put on the news. They're like, "Oh, Dad's not here anymore." I got a wife and kid to put on the news, and they could be convincing. You don't
That's
have
why I
that.
need a lawyer.
Yeah,
That's why I need a lawyer.
even with a
Yeah, I
lawyer,
mean,
it won't help you.
did you hear about this new strengthening and unleashing America's law enforcement to pursue criminals and protect innocent citizens act?
Man, so
Or
I
not act, executive order. Sorry.
here's the thing. He basically ordered they have like 90 days to the attorney general and maybe the head of Homeland Security has 90 days to report back to him to like tell him how he could best use the military to help with like policing in our country, which using the military on American soil against Americans is like flat out wrong. I'll say this. He's floated doing it at the border and people are like, "Oh, he can't do that." I Let me say this. We have people that report every what is it like every couple weeks they report for the people in the guard. I don't know how often it is. It's 2 weeks during the
This is
summer,
National
and
Guard. National
yeah,
Guard.
like when they're we have a buddy that lives in Austin that used to do that, and he would tell me that he'd come up to DFW for like a weekend. And then, like, just kind of do nothing on a base the whole weekend. Like, it was busy
Hmm.
work. And, like, okay, if they have to report for a certain amount of time every year, send them to the border. That's free labor on the border and have them monitor the border. I'm not saying, like, with guns ready to shoot people, but, like, there's some muscle for the border.
So I could be wrong about
Okay.
this, but I think the National Guard is each state has their own National Guard.
Yes.
So the Texas National Guard would be what they would send to the border. And I think they do probably use them for
They
some stuff at the border. But
they've sent them a couple.
yeah, each state has their own National Guard, and that is kind of the military for each state
Yeah.
ish.
And Texas has sent them a couple times, and Democrats always get pissed about it. And I gotta say, I like if we're just sending them to a random base in the middle of nowhere to do nothing, like put them to work. If we need some new barriers built or whatever, like do it. I don't want them patrolling with guns, getting ready to shoot immigrants crossing the river. But as far as free labor, like if we're paying them and bringing them out to do stuff, put them out there in by El Paso or the Rio Grande. I don't have a problem with that.
But there's a total difference in that versus like the military against our citizens,
Yeah.
our own
So
military against our citizens.
when in summer of 2020 when the George Floyd riots were happening, like Trump really wanted to unleash the military to like regain control of the cities that had protests, and the people around him told him, "No, sir, you can't do that. It's against the Constitution." If we get to that point again, there's nobody around him to tell him no this time. So like he's gonna do it. So
Well, he's already set in motion an act so that he can do it.
he kind of he basically told them they have 90 days to come back to him. Now they could come back to him and say, "Sir, I don't think they're going to say we don't need the military, but it could be a very small scale down thing that's not worth getting upset over, or it could be them saying deploy the military in the streets. I don't know which one. Like it, we'll have to see. But right
It's
now,
going to be whatever he wants, which nobody knows what he wants.
yeah. So
So,
I've seen headlines of that a bunch. I read a little bit into it, but I'm not at all ready to talk about it. And when I saw that it was the whole you have 90 days to report back to me thing, I kind of put it on the back burner for now. Whenever they come back and say what it is they want, and if it's an issue, then let's go nuts about it. But there's too many other things to go nuts about right now. I can't give any
well,
attention to that.
it's an issue that he signed the order He signed the, what is it,
It's
executive order
yeah,
to,
executive orders really don't do anything. Like he signs them all the time, and a lot of times he's directing Congress to look for a blah blah blah, or he's directing this agency to, but it means nothing. Like it's not passing a law. An executive order is the most toothless thing a president can do.
it's a law under his administration.
It's not even an official policy. Like an executive order is he's normally asking someone to look into something. That's what most of them are.
Okay.
Yeah. So don't get flipped out over those. If he's signing he signs executive orders 3 days a week, and most of them are symbolic. Like he does it and then he turns it around and he holds it up for the camera and smiles, and they don't ever do much of anything. So calm down on that. Now, if they come back and request that he uses the military and then he signs an executive order telling the military to do something on American soil against American citizens, then let's flip out.
Is it because it's Trump it doesn't do anything? Because I mean
No,
Obama signed a lot of executive orders, Biden signed a lot of executive orders, and they none of them did anything. Is
not
that what you're
really.
saying?
No. That's, I mean, it's the least impactful thing a president can do. Obama's the one who really kicked it off, and I've said this before. But at one point, I think it was in 2014, Republicans had the House and the Senate, and they said nothing gets passed. Nothing. It doesn't even matter if it's good for America. Nothing gets passed. So Obama then turned to doing executive orders because that's all he could really do. And what happens is whatever executive order he does, the next president can come in and just undo them all with a stroke of a pen. It's really easy to just, oh, that's all out the window. No, it doesn't last. So
But during the time they're in office, it's in effect.
and again, yes, it's in effect. It doesn't. It's not. He's not passing anything. He's not. I don't. I don't know how to explain it right, but
But the Aliens Enemy Act, he affected what did he
he invoked that, and that's a different thing.
invoked?
That's different than a standard executive order. That's something that's in the Constitution that the president has the power to invoke. So that's slightly
Hmm.
different. But again, Obama did a bunch of them. Trump came in and wiped all his out, and then Trump did his own, and then Biden came in and wiped his out. It's I hate things getting done through executive order. Anyhow, it's more for show than anything else, is what I'll say.
Okay,
Anyhow,
so nothing's ever gotten done through executive order.
nothing that's lasted.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyhow, did you hear the good news on the economy?
Everything's good. Yeah, we're in great shape. Tourism is up, apparently.
So real
Economy's
quick,
great.
think back to 3 episodes ago, and I told you that, hey, be prepared because the numbers for the first quarter are probably going to be good. Like March is going to be fine because in March specifically, everybody was stocking up. All these companies were buying extra stuff from overseas, so money was getting spent in our economy. So, like, the
Yeah.
numbers for March might look really good. Don't freak out if you see that. April's where it's going to be a problem. It turns out I and all the economists I listened to were wrong because the first quarter was actually the beginning of a recession. For it to be a recession, it's got to be 2 consecutive quarters of retraction. The back when Trump first took over, they were expecting like 3% ish GDP growth, which I think Biden was averaging like 2.8 to 3%. So that was kind of in line with what Biden had been doing the last year and a half. Back in 2022, things weren't going well, but the last year and a half, GDP was good. Um, I woke up this morning, did not see any news, sat down at my desk, turned on Fox, and it was like at the perfect time. Like a show was just starting, and this was my intro to my morning. Check this out from Fox real quick.
All right, so obviously this is just moments after we learned that this GDP number came out. It did show a drop in growth, a contraction in the economy, first that we have seen in years, in fact, and it's a sharp reversal from the 2.4% growth we saw in the fourth quarter. So obviously this is a White House that is stepping out to defend its policies on the economy in a moment where we're waiting to see if the first deal comes through on tariffs.
Yeah, we were looking at this. Quarter four was 2.4% growth. Quarter three was 3.1. Quarter two was 3.0. And now we're at negative 0.3%.
Oh, it's all Biden's fault. It's
Yeah.
all Biden's fault.
Well, let's get to that in a minute. But yeah, a little bit of panic this morning. Everybody thought quarter one was going to be good. And then I started seeing recently they were revising it down. And I think at the very end they said, hey, it's not going to be negative, but it's going to be like positive 0.3 maybe. It's kind of the last thing they said. Ended up being negative 0.3. Turns out that was even with all the companies buying up on kind of backstock, kind of filling their cabinets while they could before the tariffs. turns out consumer confidence and like consumer spending is what did a lot of this. And then a good portion of it too was companies that kind of pulled back on their spending because they don't know what the climate's going to be like. So they're not doing any unnecessary spending. But it all comes down to confidence. It was company confidence or consumer confidence. And I've been telling you this for the last couple of months. Like my business has got dead recently. Like I'm in the kind of the home building business, and like nobody's looking to start working on their dream house right now with the economy kind of uncertain. So that's the uncertainty is what hurt him that first quarter. The Liberation Day didn't happen until April 2nd. This is all quarter one, which ended at the end of March. So April 2nd, he announced them. April 9th, he took over. Real quick on the tariffs, did you see this whole Amazon kerfuffle?
Oh yeah.
Okay. It's just, if anybody didn't, check this out real quick. This was on Thursday morning. Real quick, it turned out a story came out that Amazon was going to start posting when you buy a product, it would show the price, the sales tax, and then the import tax, and then your total price. So they were breaking it down in the name of transparency. The reason Trump doesn't like this is because he's trying to say, oh, no, the American consumer doesn't pay the import tax. That's China pays the tax. And this would have made it very clear what everybody was paying. So they've started doing the press briefings early in the morning this week. I don't know why, but early in the morning, that story comes out. And then Carolyn Levitt and Scott Bessent are standing at the podium. They get this question. Go watch this clip real quick from Fox.
So it was reported this morning that Amazon will soon display a little number next to the price of each product that shows how much the Trump tariffs are adding to the cost of each product. So isn't that a perfect crystal clear demonstration that it's the American consumer and not China who is going to have to pay for these policies?
I will take this since I just got off the phone with the president about Amazon's announcement. This is a hostile and political act by Amazon.
Yeah. I mean,
hostile and political. They took that as an attack from Amazon. Amazon siding with China. No, Amazon's just being transparent and it turns out all the companies that sell on Amazon, they don't want the customers getting mad at them thinking they're jacking their prices up. So the companies want that shown that way. Like they went to Amazon and said, hey, can we please do this? Amazon said yes. And
it's really frustrating when she just like fills that question and it's just all this bullshit. And did you hear about, I mean, I guess you heard that shit, I'm blanking. I guess Trump called him and
I got that coming up next. But real quick on Amazon, because of Amazon's delivery slowing, FedEx or not FedEx, UPS, who UPS apparently their biggest customer is Amazon. That's the only reason they're still in business. They announced they're going to cut 20,000 jobs because of the slowed deliveries from Amazon. So and also the job numbers this morning, I think normally they add like 180,000 to 250,000. That's kind of a good jobs report. It was only 62,000 this morning. So the jobs numbers was way below predicted. Still in the positive though. We haven't hit a point where it goes negative, which is predicted to come next quarter. We're not going to find out next quarter's numbers till summer, but that's the one that could hurt really bad. Real quick, after that, Lutnick goes on CNBC. Check this out. This is going to be a quick. I'm going to tell this story through video, but this is from CNBC.
Amazon gate. Forget about Amazon. If a company were to say we're raising prices because of the tariff, is that a hostile act?
I think if you go out of your way to try to make it seem like your price has changed when it's nonsense, okay? A 10% tariff.
Why is that nonsense?
Because a 10% tariff is not going to change virtually any price. The only price it would change would be a product that we don't make here, like a mango. You know, if we don't have mangoes here and we charge 10%.
Hopefully nobody's making mangoes.
Right,
yes, you're
correct. Or cocoa. Right? We don't grow cocoa in America. So, but what you're going to see is you're going to see us relentlessly do trade deals everywhere in the world. And when we do a trade deal with that country, we're going to say cocoa does not have a tariff, right? Because this is the smart way that Donald Trump is doing it. He understands if you make a deal with a country and you give them the parts that they want and they need, they're going to open their market. Let us sell soybeans there. Let us sell, people won't let us sell chicken. They won't let us sell beef. It's all nonsense. So we open.
It's all
I want
nonsense.
a waterboard, Lutnick.
Yeah. So a 10% tariff doesn't affect the price. That's nonsense. Well, no, it does. It's 10%. Whatever you're buying is now 10% more expensive. If it's only $1, then it's $1.10. That's not a big deal. If it's $1,000 and now it's $1,100, like that's a big deal. Like if you're buying a new laptop right now, if you're buying a new laptop that's coming from China, it's let's say it's $1,000 laptop, which would be a kind of a middle of the road laptop with 145% tariff on it. That laptop is now 2,400 and something. I don't know if I can do that math right. Anyhow, that's kind of a big deal. And I love how he brought up the whole mango and cocoa thing. I get it, but then why did we do blanket tariffs in the first place? If it's a product that we have no intention of growing or making here, they should have been exempted. We could go ahead and do that tomorrow, and that would help a lot, especially with grocery prices. Like a lot of the grocery prices, they're going to be the first thing to hit are going to be like produce and produce that we do not grow here in America. It's pointless. Like I don't even know why I'm giving Trump this advice. That would be a real easy way to ease the impact on regular Americans would be to exempt a lot of these groceries.
But he doesn't want to do that. I don't know what he wants to do. Nobody knows what he wants. But he wants tariffs. That's all he wants.
Even his own trade representatives aren't quite clear on what he wants. And that's I listened to an economist talk about this, but apparently, like a lot of these countries have already said, like, oh, we had a 5% or we had a 10% tear it off, like we'll take it to zero, no problem, we'll do that, and that's not what he wants. He's upset about what he calls non-tariff barriers, which he like manipulating their currency or having a VAT tax, which a VAT tax is a joke because it's a tax equally applied to everything, imports and domestic products, but basically, since there's no real way to write that, you can't make them not manipulate their currency. So what he's kind of looking for, and nobody said this out loud yet, but he's looking for some kind of just an annual payment. Like it's almost racketeering. Like, hey, you're gonna sign a check to this much for this much money to us a year to America because of all your unfair trade practice. So that's what he's looking is how much are you willing to just pay us directly for the honor of getting to trade with us? So that's supposedly where this is all headed. But Trump did call Bezos, which Bezos is not even the CEO of Amazon anymore. Like he stepped down and handed that over to somebody, but he still has the power. So Trump called Bezos. Amazon puts out a statement real quick and says, "Oh no, this was just for our like cost haul program or something, and like we haven't put it in yet, and we're not gonna." Trump's on the White House lawn shortly after, and this is the last video having to do with this. But check this one out from Fox as well.
Great. Jeff Bezos was very nice. He was terrific. He solved the problem very quickly. And he did the right thing, and he's a good guy.
He did the right thing. He did the right thing by helping me to shield the Americans from knowing what these import taxes are going to do to their bill. That's pretty much what he's saying. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he just wants people to bow down to him. He doesn't want to look back. I don't understand. This is the whole thing is I don't understand what he's getting out of this. What is he getting out of the tariffs?
I don't know. He does. I'll say this. All the people that say like he just loves tariffs. Like he's been talking about tariffs for 30 years. He really loves tariffs. Like he does. You can find clips of him on Oprah in the 90s talking about tariffs. Like he's infatuated with them.
I mean, he's still like all of his stuff is made in China, right? Like his hats
and his ties and everything.
Everything's made in China, so all of his stuff is going up 145%. And so he's going to see a drop in those sales, which I guess he has enough money, he doesn't really care. And he's bankrupted so many businesses. Like, what's another bankruptcy on his like rap sheet?
I hope he doesn't bankrupt America. That'll be poor.
That seems like what he's doing.
So real quick, having to do with bankrupting America. The reason that September is the deadline for the new what do they call it, the reconciliation budget. They signed a continuing resolution till September to keep the government funded, and that's kind of their target date is they need to have it done by September. And that reason is we're going to hit our debt ceiling roughly in September is what we'd calculated. So we're going to run out of money and have to borrow more, sell more T-bills, and we have every time they do this, they have to vote to basically raise our credit card limit as a country is the way you got to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when it was supposed to happen. Turns out we just found out today we're going to hit that a whole lot quicker than they thought. We are going to have to borrow $514 billion more dollars this coming quarter than was originally projected because the Trump administration is spending more money on certain things. A lot of it has to do with like deportations and ICE and immigrant housing.
Golf.
And then golf is part of it. Certain stuff with HHS was actually a part of it. I thought they were cutting there, but apparently that's not it.
What's the
Anyhow,
running total on Trump's golf bill right now?
I know that there's more. There was enough money in the new budget that they haven't voted on yet has money dedicated to Trump's golf trips, and it's enough money to keep all the national parks open for 20 years. Yeah, I saw that
They
line.
spent 26 million on President Donald Trump's golf outings.
And he goes every weekend.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that's insane.
So, and real quick, Elon apparently already slashed all this stuff. He's already saved us all this money, yet we're somehow going to spend 514 billion more than was projected next quarter. So what are we doing here, Doge? Like, that's not very Doge-like of you.
No. Well, Doge went from what? It was like 3 trillion to 2 trillion to 1 trillion to half a trillion, and now he really only cut
He
like
said
a couple hundred billion.
now he's saying 150 billion, but apparently that's bunk. People are saying it's really like 15 billion. I haven't seen the numbers, but that's what's being said.
That's amazing. That's so amazing.
Yeah.
2 trillion to 115 billion.
The whole saving the government money was not his goal. I know he said it over and over, but it wasn't. It's called a Senate Permanent Subcommittee, and I have no clue what that means, and I forgot to look it up. But I guess that means it's a subcommittee that's always there in the Senate. Anyhow, they released a report today that estimates that Elon will avoid 2.37 billion in legal liability due to his Doge cuts. Basically, he cut certain companies, not companies, departments that were investigating him and going to fine him and this and that. So he paid 300 million to get Trump elected, and in doing so, he's saving 2.37 billion. And that is a bipartisan committee of Democrats and Republicans that put that out. So good investment for Elon if that's what he was trying. And now he can launch rockets and do the self-driving car, and the government's not going to be there to be all over his back about it. So
yeah, so he just basically went in, and that's all he wanted was just to get rid of some of the. I mean, we knew this. We talked about this before. Like he just wanted to get rid of some of the lawsuits that these government agencies and the oversight from some of the government agencies that he didn't like.
They make him like every time he launches a rocket in South Texas, because he's doing that. His I think it's called Starbase in South Texas is on like federally protected like marshlands or something, and he's launching rockets there. So every time he does, he has to do like an environmental study to show like the impact of the rocket launch and what it'll have on this federally protected land. He doesn't like doing any of that. So it's little things like that he does not like. So
yeah.
Federally
protected land is amazing. I love it. Keep it going.
Launch rockets on it. Yeah.
Resist.
Did you see Trump? Did you see any of Trump's cabinet meeting today?
No, I don't think I did.
So even Ann Coulter afterward, she tweeted something basically saying like, "Hey, can we do that again next time, but without the North Korea vibe?" Because he did the thing again where he went around the table and had everybody praise him, and this time everybody had red MAGA hats in front of them on the table, except they were alternating. Like they'd say "Make America Great Again," and then it would say "Gulf of America," then "Make America Great," then "Gulf of America," all the way around the table. So he's selling Gulf of America hats now. By the way, I think that was his way to announce that. But in that, Elon, for some reason, was wearing two hats. Elon was wearing he was wearing his black like MAGA hat that he wears everywhere, but then he put a red MAGA hat on top of it. And Trump pointed that out at one point, and Elon was like, "They say I wear many hats. Even my hat has a hat." And everybody laughed, and it was just awkward. But this was apparently Elon's farewell meeting in the cabinet. They kind of thanked him. He talked about all the good things he's done, and apparently Elon is now stepping away to go run Tesla and hopefully bring his stock price up. So
yeah,
yay, he did enough damage. He did everything he wanted to do, and now he's out of there. So
he did the damage. It's not like we won anything on that.
His approval rating right now, leaving, is 34%. So he has the lowest approval rating of anybody in Trump's administration.
Yeah. And Chuck Schumer's still over there writing really strongly worded questions.
Okay, I'm gonna defend Chuck Schumer real quick. Hold on, I saved this for the end, but let me get this in now. Tonight on the Senate floor, Chuck Schumer announced that he has held the Senate Democrats together. Nobody's going to break, and they are going to all vote against the SAVE Act, which was the Election Integrity Act. I never looked into this enough. The Democrats were saying that this would have made it to where any woman that's gotten married and changed her name wouldn't have been able to vote. It had something about like if your name is different than what's on your birth certificate, then you can't vote. Something like that. I don't know if I buy that fully, but I never looked into it. But that's what the Democrats were saying. But overall, I don't want federal election laws. Like, I want every state and every municipality to run their election the way they want to. That's the way it was set up. Any federal election laws, I'm against. Let the states figure out how to do
Makes
their
it
election.
way easier to hijack an election
It
if
does.
it's run by the government.
So,
yeah.
So if Schumer really did keep them all together, and because there's always like a Fetterman or two that you worry about is going to jump over to the other side, looks like that's not going to happen. Anyhow, so something good from Schumer there.
Are you sure? I mean, don't praise him yet on that. I mean, that could all fall apart, and he could cave in at any moment.
You're true. It has the vote hasn't happened yet. So in the pressure campaign, now that he announced that tonight is when the pressure campaign is going to start on like the vulnerable Senate Democrats like Fetterman that are kind of in a red state. So you're right. Don't celebrate yet, but he announced it tonight, and he like made a big thing about it and turned to the Republicans and like, so this bill is dead on arrival, and kind of was all shitty towards them. And
don't count your chickens, bro.
Yeah. So anyhow, to close out tariffs in the economy, the dollar is down 9.5% since Trump got inaugurated. That basically causes inflation as well, because when we're buying things from other countries, if the dollar is below $1, somehow that means we pay more per product. I don't even want to pretend to really understand it. First of all, like you said earlier, this is all Biden's fault. One more video on the economy real quick. This is again from Fox.
Look at the stock market in this case, is it says how bad a situation we inherited. This is a quarter that we looked at today, and we took all of us together. We came in on January 20th. So this is Biden, and you could even say the next quarter is sort of Biden because it doesn't just happen on a daily or an hourly basis.
So not only is this Biden's fault, but he's already proclaimed that next quarter is going to be Biden's fault too. I like how he got out ahead of it because everybody knows that next quarter is when it's really going to hurt. So he said you can even really say next quarter is going to be Biden's fault too. So get out.
Remember last year, like before the election even happened, like and the stock market was booming, and he was like, "It's because they believe I'm going to win this. It's all Trump." What do you call it? Trump economics or something?
He said this is not Biden's stock market. This is the Trump stock market. Everybody knows I'm going to win, and that's why it's going up. But suddenly now this is Biden's economy, and it's going to be Biden's economy till let's see, March, April, May, June. So at the end of July is when we're going to get the second quarter numbers. And at that point, it's still going to be Biden's economy, which it's upsetting because let's say this. Had he come in, because I think that the GDP went from like 3 to 2.8 Biden's last quarter. So it dropped just a smidge. And then if Trump had come in and not really done anything and it went from 2.8 to like, let's say all the way down to 2, like it dropped a little bit, but Trump hadn't done a lot, then you could say, oh, wow, there must have been some warning signs we missed in the economy that it was heading in the wrong direction. No, he very clearly put the tariffs on. And that is the day he announced tariffs is when everything started going south. If anybody out there, which I know there's a lot of Republicans that believe it, but if anybody believes the tariffs didn't cause this, let's run
We'd
a little.
like to hear from you. Like comment on it.
Yeah.
Let's get in the back and forth. Maybe we'll have you on. Also, like and subscribe.
Exactly. Please like and subscribe. Let's run a little experiment. Not an experiment. Let's just observe over the next 6 months, okay? Because we both agree that he's going to be able to convince 35 to 40% of American voters that this is all Biden's fault, right?
You've been saying 36. Kyle Kalinske, he was saying today 26 is his floor.
Really? I think it's higher than
that. That's what I heard today. Okay. Yeah.
Maybe he's right. He smarter than me, but I think it's 36 or so. But would you agree that right now he's convinced 36% of Americans that everything that's happening GDP wise and stock market wise is Biden's fault, right? Can we agree on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that he's going to be able to convince that same amount of people that the prices are not going up. Once the prices start going up, he's going to say no, they're not, and then you're going to have people on Facebook that we went to high school with are going to be like, no, the prices aren't going up. Eggs have always been $12 a dozen or something like that. I think he's going to be able to convince them that no, the market's like the economy is great. And we're going to see people that we know parroting that even when it's very clearly measurably not great, I think he's going to. Also, the way he's going to be able to keep their spirits up, I caught on to this today. I should have caught on to it sooner, but he keeps touting all these big investments that are being made in America. He's got Apple's agreed to invest $1 trillion, and Oracle's agreed to invest $5 trillion or whatever it is. So he's going to keep using all these. Oh, and this new company just agreed to invest. Now, in his first term, all the big investments like that never actually happened. Foxconn up in Wisconsin, there was 3 or 4 of them. Never was anything built. So it doesn't matter if they're going to happen or not, though. If he keeps pointing to that, like, hey, good times are right around the corner. Like these investments are coming. If everybody can just hang tough, we're going to be great. And everything's in 2 weeks with him. Like, oh, in 2 weeks I'm going to release this. He can't do 2 weeks here, but in 6 months or in a year, just hang on a little bit longer. Good times are coming. I think he's going to be able to use that and keep 36% of the country in line with him. Personally,
all for all 4 years.
Not for all 4 years. I think he's even tonight. There was a town hall tonight that I haven't pulled anything from, but it was Chris Cuomo in News Nation. At one point, I turned it on, and it was so Chris Cuomo. I don't mind. Like he used to be on CNN. Like Chris Cuomo. I don't mind him at all. But I turned it on at one point, and it was Chris Cuomo, not Sean Hannity. Sorry, Bill O'Reilly, Stephen A. Smith, James Carville, and then on the screen was Steve Bannon and RFK. And then it said on the phone is Donald Trump. And I was like, like this. Oh, so I recorded it and I'm going to have to go back and watch it later. But I was just like, what? Like, I don't know if my brain can handle that.
I do not like Chris Como.
I don't mind him. I think he tries to be pretty fair and balanced and down the middle.
He tries too hard. It's what it is. Yeah. He tries too hard. He tries to be on both sides of the aisle too.
He's definitely made a push over the last, this year since Trump got elected. He's trying really hard to show Republicans, no, I'm fair to Trump. I'm a nice guy. And he's trying to get Trump to come on his show or have Trump send his top advisors on his show. So he's playing the game to try to be the middle of the road. Now, I've said this before, but nobody wants middle of the road. Like people might say that, but no, they want confirmation bias. They either want someone that's going to defend Trump or they want someone that's going to attack Trump, but they don't want to hear someone on their side kind of agree with the other side on an issue. That pisses everybody off. So
that's true.
It's our fault. They're giving us what we want is what the problem is. So anyhow, last thing on the economy. Did you know that Rand Paul has been running around for the last 2 days saying that he has enough Republican votes in the Senate to take back the tariff power from Trump? So
I heard something about this, but
he's been saying it for the last 2 days. And then today I saw that there's a vote tonight and Rand Paul says he has enough votes. So as we were sitting down, I was like, oh shit, I forgot about that. Let me try to figure out what happens. Turns out they had the vote about an hour ago. It was 49-49, deadlock. They were one Republican short of needing the tiebreaker, which Vance would have come in and broken the tie. So 2 Republicans short of actually doing it. The ones that voted for it were Rand Paul and then Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins. People thought that not Chuck Schumer, Turtle Man, Mitch McConnell. They thought that he was going to be involved, but still at that point you needed a 5th, and you didn't have a 5th.
So is this just a factor of like the Republicans are for the tariffs?
No, they're afraid
of Trump. Or is this a factor of they're just scared to go against Trump?
Scared of Trump.
Yeah,
so
that makes sense.
They all got interviewed after the GDP numbers came out today. Reporters were trying to catch them in the halls, and they were all saying they were saying this isn't good. We don't like the way this is headed, but we're going to give him a little bit of time. So they're open to letting him try this strategy for a bit longer. But if things start to get real bad, it seems like a couple more Republicans will cross over and they'll try to take it back, and then that'll be a battle in the GOP. And if the Dems are smart, they'll just sit back and let them go at it. Like, don't even try to get involved. Let Trump kill the Senate. So.
Man, I can't believe they couldn't get 2 more people.
Yeah, they got 3, and when Rand Paul said he had all of them, I take Rand Paul at his word, honestly. Like, I don't like the guy, but I didn't think he'd be out there saying that unless he really thought he had it. Maybe he did. Maybe he had it earlier today, and then the White House got in there and started pressuring people. Who knows? But
he showed his cards a little too early, and he got played out. Also, he could have, there could be somebody who's like, I'm going to vote for it. I'm all on board with you. And just to kind of let him think he had the extra 2 votes. What he should have done was get 5 extra votes.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think he can get 5 extra right now. Like I said, give it another month or 2. If things start to get bad, then he'll have the votes. But right now, he two votes short. So, yeah. All right. So the reason I originally wanted to get on tonight, because we just recorded 2 nights ago, was Trump did an interview with ABC. So clips are coming of that, and that was a doozy. But before we get to that, I had too many video clips for tonight, and I apologize to you for that. But Trump also had his rally last night. There were a lot of clips. So I wanted to pull a lot of clips from that, but really it was the greatest hits. It was sinks and showers don't have enough water pressure. When you flush the toilet, you have to flush it 10 times. And it was a lot of the same stuff we've always heard. Two things I wanted to point out for you real quick. We're gonna fly through this rally, but real quick, here's a video from Fox who aired the whole rally.
And I banned all government censorship and restored free speech in America. We have free speech. We didn't have free speech.
So I've decided with most of what
Sorry.
I know. With most of what Trump is doing, I've decided it's kind of like in marriage when you like this battle's not worth fighting. Like, it has to be a battle worth fighting for me to go at it with my wife. That's how I feel about most of my Republican friends up here. Is like I want to like today when the quarterly numbers came out, the GDP. Like I so badly wanted to talk to somebody about it, but it's like no, I don't want to be a dick. I don't want to start a fight. I don't want to call and rub it in. Now the free speech thing is starting to become a hill I'm willing to die on. Like I'm going to have this battle.
Okay.
If you just look at all the students that were that are here on green cards that were deporting over their speech, not something they did illegally, speech. Okay.
Right.
Elon on Twitter censoring people that he doesn't like what they're saying. Like to
Sure.
say that Trump and Elon are pro free speech is getting a little ridiculous. Today,
It's just not true.
yeah, today in Texas, the Republican Party in Texas made it a crime to do basically like the political AI images because like I guess a lot of people are making images of the governor and all that. So now it's a crime to do that. You can get locked up for putting something on Twitter that's an AI image of a Texas lawmaker. So
In Texas or
I don't know.
okay, so if I make it in another state and I travel to Texas, they can arrest me?
If you go, I'm going to tell them you're coming to Texas in a couple of weeks, and they're going to be waiting for you. So yeah, and then
Never done that.
no, and then in the Senate, in our Senate, they're getting ready to pass tomorrow something called the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act. Okay, they were gonna pass it, I guess, a day or two ago, but at the last minute there was a whole hubbub. Oh, hold on, wait, we got to change some language in here, and they added one. They're basically excluding one thing. You can't say anything bad about the Jews. It's now like officially against the law of America, except you can say that the Jews killed Jesus. I guess they realized that the way they had it worded, if Christians say that the Jews killed Jesus, then that would have violated this new law. So they did a little carve out for Christians. So you can say that about the Jews, but don't say anything else.
But I thought the Romans killed Jesus.
Well, so it's a matter of how you look at it. The Jews turned him in. The Jews
Okay.
the Jews served him up on a platter for the Romans, who then killed him. So yes.
Yeah.
So that's the thing that a lot of Republican like evangelicals talk about is how the Jews killed Jesus, but they still like the Jews because they're better than the Arabs. So
This is so ridiculous. Speaking
Yeah.
of Arabs, speaking of Jewish and Arabs, did you see Israel bombed Iran today?
I did not see that. I missed that. I'll tell you
Oh,
what,
yeah.
CNN today kept running this little package they had of the. I guess they're running out of food in Gaza. They've been Israel has been basically blockading them, so no food can get in. And they kept showing images, like they
Yep.
showed one of a 5-year-old boy who weighed 23 pounds and was just a skeleton with skin. And they kept showing. I couldn't watch it. It was like those Sarah McLachlan animal shelter commercials that come on that are real sad.
Yeah.
So every time it started to come on, I was like, and I would turn it, and I couldn't do it. But yeah,
Yeah,
so that's
I had a thought the other day. I wish some billionaire, if any billionaires watching, just buy a bunch of cell phones and have them airdropped into Gaza with like instructions on taking photos of what's actually going on. And we're gonna need Elon Musk and his
they wouldn't be able to get
Starlink
him out of
to-
there. And there
Yeah.
are some reporters on the ground in Palestine or in Gaza right now.
Is there?
I believe so. There's images getting out.
Yeah, from what I understood, Israel did not allow reporters in from the beginning, and then they had a reporter stuck in or something. They killed him. There was some
Yeah.
weird thing.
There was a reporter for Drop Site News. It's Ryan Grimm from Breaking Points. His news agency had a reporter on the ground in there, but he actually just left like a week ago. I think I gotta say, I think you're wrong on Israel bombing Iran today. If that had happened, I would have seen that. And I just did a quick Twitter check, and I'm not seeing it. So for anybody watching at home, I'm not sure that happened. You might have seen a fake headline there.
I saw a headline on it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was hoping you'd bring it up.
No, like I said, I don't think it happened. So anyhow, do you want to see the most disgusting part of Trump's rally?
No.
You know those moments where you just feel like America's hopeless?
Is it as disgusting as a 28-pound boy?
No, this is disgusting in a different way. Real quick, the last video from Fox on the rally, but check this out.
100 Days of Greatness, huh?
So that was a 3-minute video of like a highlight video of people being deported to that prison in El Salvador. And the video glorified, and it's one of those, if they were all gangbangers for real and we prove that, then I don't mind it as much. But at the end of that, the USA chant breaks out. And the chant went on for like another 3 minutes. And that, I don't know why. Like, it's one of those where as I was watching that video, I was almost horrified, like that America's doing this, shipping people off to a foreign country to a prison where they're never going to leave. And then at the end of it, the USA
where they're going to get tortured. Let's not forget that part. They're going to get tortured.
Yep. And the crowd there is loving it to the point of the USA chant going on for like 3 minutes afterwards. So that's So that's
And I mean the guards, every single one of the guards are wearing masks, full face masks.
Yeah.
Why are they wearing full face masks? Because they're doing something horrendous.
Yeah.
And they don't want their faces to be shown.
Pretty rough. So anyhow, we'll get off of that sad topic. Let me ask you a question here. Are you familiar with Big Gretch?
Hold on. How many people were at his rally?
I don't know. And it looked like a smaller venue, but I haven't seen anything about it. So
I haven't heard anything yet.
Yeah. But do you know who Big Gretch is?
No.
Okay, Gretchin Whitmer. They call her Big Gretch. She's very tall.
Okay.
Governor of Michigan. Kind of cute she's probably 50-ish, not bad looking. Here, I'm just going to pose this to you. I'm curious your views on it. But a couple weeks ago, she ends up like Trump signing executive orders, and she's in the Oval Office for some reason. And he of course can't help, but he's like, "Oh, Gretch, come here," and he like gets everybody, the cameras, to turn to her, and she tried to like hide her face with her binder, and it became kind of funny. But a lot of liberals were mad because they were like, "What is she doing in the Oval Office? Like, why is she there? Why is she even talking to him?" And then she came out afterward and said, "Hey, there is an Air Force base. I think it's an Army base. I think it's an Air Force base in Michigan that basically the squadron that was there is getting ended and the base has no mission now. So it's probably going to get closed. There's a lot of jobs because of that base. So it's been a bipartisan effort in her state, Republicans and Democrats, to try to get the government to keep that base open. She went with some, like the head of the Republicans in the Senate, maybe for Michigan. They both went to try to convince Trump to leave it open. They succeeded. She went in there, met with Trump. He had agreed to basically assign a new squadron of fighters there. So going to Michigan last night, he basically had two events. The first one was at this Air Force base, and the second one was the rally. When he gets off the plane at the Air Force base, Gretch is standing there on the tarmac waiting to greet him. He goes in to give, everybody's calling it a hug, okay? I wouldn't say it was a half hug. He went in to kind of hug, and it became like kind of a one arm around and a pat on the shoulder type, like not quite a hug, but kind of a hug. So liberals are losing their mind there. And then she's with him at the Air Force base. She's on stage. He's loving the fact that he has a Democrat governor kind of with him on his side. So he calls her up to the mic. Gretchen, come on up here, say something. And she is very careful there not to thank, like she said, I'm very appreciative that this base is allowed to remain open, but she wouldn't thank Trump. Anyhow, she's been a front runner for the Democrat presidential nomination for the last year or so. People think she's one of the big contenders. And now the left is saying that this is disqualifying. Like she's working with Trump. And like she did something that was good for her state. And if she's going to run, her lane is going to be a centrist. That's where, I mean, Michigan is not a blue state. It's a very purple state, kind of even a bit of a red state. And she managed to get reelected. She's been the governor now for 2 terms. So her lane is in the middle, reach across the aisle, work with both sides. That's what she's doing. They don't want that. They want her to fight him. So what do you
this is the Democrats' whole problem is they eat their own. Like
yes.
she got something done. She worked with the president to get something done that was, I would say that it's just feeding the war machine, but like, sure, like she kept a base open, kept a lot of jobs in her state, a good thing for her state.
Yep.
And now the Democrats are going after her.
100%. So I'm glad
horrible.
me and you agree on this. I really didn't think we were gonna, but what my question was going to be is, what's the better move? To fight Trump no matter what. There's no winners in a fight, but just resist, fight him. Nothing good will happen for you, but also nothing good will happen for him. Or play Trump, stroke his ego, get what you want. The way Macron in France figured out early on in the first term, he was the only one that was able to get things done with Trump because he stroked his ego. So if you're doing stuff that's good for your state as a governor, and you go in there and you kind of play the game, you let Trump have his photo op with you, but in return, your state is getting good things. Like, I don't think that's a bad play at all. But man, Democrats are pissed at Gretch today. So
you do a little bit of both. What you don't do is what Chuck Schumer's doing, is rolling over and playing dead.
Yeah, and get nothing for your state in return. That's the key.
Absolutely nothing.
So okay, well, I'm glad you agree with me on that. But I have no problem with her. If anything, this makes me like Gretchen Whitmer more. The fact that she was willing to go in and she let Trump use her as a prop is what everybody's saying, and she kind of did. Like that was the deal. Is Trump's going to use you to make it look like he's being bipartisan, and in return, your state's going to get good things. I got no problem with that. So
the thing is Trump always wants something in return, right? So what did he get in return from her?
The photo op. He wanted the photo. He wanted her to be seen. And also he loves people coming and bending the knee to him, and asking him for a favor because I did you a favor and now you owe me. And that was a good opportunity for him to show, hey, even the Democrat governors come in here and kiss my ass a little bit and I'll do things for you. Like, he wants that to be known. This isn't just for Republicans. Anybody that wants to come kiss my ass, I will do good things for you.
Yeah, because it shows he's working with the Democrats a little bit.
Yep. And that's why the Democrats don't want it to be seen that he's working with the Democrats. But he did a good thing for a Democrat state there. I mean, sure. And if say she doesn't run for president, she's just trying to get reelected. This just helped her in her state a whole lot. She went in, she met with Trump, she was cordial with him, she got something good done for the state. If she wants to be governor again, I'll bet she can do it. So, anyhow.
Didn't you say there's a base or 2 in your state getting closed down?
So Tinker, and apparently it's not gonna now because one of our congressmen or senators went in and talked to Trump. So that's all he wants. He wants you to come in and ask him because now you owe him. That's what it's all about.
Right.
So. Anyhow, we get to move on to my favorite topic of the night, the ABC interview.
Oh my gosh, this was a complete and utter S show. Like, what is going on?
I had like 10 clips pulled just from this interview. And just because of all the other clips I had, I scaled it down. I've only got 3 or 4 of them, okay?
Dude, maybe his greatest interview yet. I mean...
So, yeah, and I'll say this. Sometimes the reporter goes in and is clearly trying to get whoever they're interviewing. They're trying to catch him in a lie or whatever. This guy was trying to be non-confrontational. Like, you'll see in the clips here, but he really wasn't. First things first, I'm going to need you to share the screen. I sent you a picture of a tattoo here. All right, so this is the picture that Trump held up in the Oval Office saying that, look, he clearly has MS-13 tattooed across his knuckles. Now, what this is what they've deciphered. And what I learned today is that this didn't come from ICE or Homeland Security or nobody like that. They're not the ones that put this together. The right-wing Twitter cracked this code, and then it started being shared throughout Twitter, and then that found its way to president's desk somehow, and then he holds it up. So this came from them. This is them cracking the code of this. But the marijuana leaves is the M. a smiley face. You know, the S for smiley is an S, and then the cross for some reason is a 1, and the skull is a 3. And apparently that's known, Dustin. We should all know that means MS-13. Now, me and you both said this a week or so ago, but from everything we've heard, MS-13 members are not bashful about it. They tattoo MS-13 across their forehead. Like there is no code. But what's funny is Trump kept saying, look, he has MS-13 tattooed across his knuckles. And the joke was people were saying, hey, like right there where it actually says MS-13, like what is that? Is that Arial font or Times New Roman or like Arial? I mean, sorry, Arial, but Arial or Times New Roman?
I have my 10,000 hours of Photoshop. So I'm pretty much an expert in Photoshop. That's definitely done in Photoshop.
So, and that seems obvious. Like I don't think that should be up for debate. But what started happening is people were saying, "Hey,
darker. It's perfect. It doesn't roll with the skin like the tattoos do."
So people were saying Trump thinks that that's really on his knuckles. Like he thinks that there's the M and the S are actually there, and the 1 and the 3. And then a couple of conservative commentators, including Tim Pool. Tim Pool did a whole rant about this, where he was like, that's the kind of dumb stuff liberals believe. Trump never said that it actually says MS-13. He said that the symbols are there, which Trump didn't say that, but it was still deniable at that point. You could say at that point, like, oh, Trump never actually tried to say that it was MS-13. He said that here's the symbols. That was the argument, okay? Cut to last night. You can pull this down now. All right, so cut to last night. Trump's doing an interview from ABC, and I don't know what order everything actually happened in, but this is the first one I'm going to show. Check this out. This is from ABC, I think via The Bulwark.
He wasn't a member of a gang. And then they looked, and on his knuckles, he had MS-13.
There's a dispute over that.
Wait a minute. He had MS-13 on his knuckles tattooed.
Oh, he had some tattoos that are interpreted that way. But let's move on.
Wait a minute. Hey, Terry.
He did not have the letter MS-13.
It says MS-13.
That was Photoshopped. So let me
That was Photoshopped. Terry, you can't do that. Hey, they're giving you the big break of a lifetime. You know, you're doing the interview. I picked you because, frankly, I never heard of you, but that's okay. I picked you, Terry, but you're not being very nice. He had MS-13 tattooed.
We'll agree to disagree. I want to move on to something else.
Terry, do you want me to show you the picture?
I saw the picture. We'll
and you think it was Photoshop? Well,
here we go.
Don't Photoshop it. Go look at his hand. He had MS-13.
He did have tattoos that can be interpreted that way. I'm not an expert on them. I want to turn to Ukraine, sir.
Terry,
I want to get to Ukraine.
No. He had MS as clear as you can be, not interpreted. This is why people no longer believe the news, because
when
it's
he was
fake
photographed
news.
in El Salvador, they aren't there. But let's just go on. They aren't there when he's in El Salvador.
They weren't there, but they're there now, right?
No,
but
they're in your picture.
Terry,
Ukraine, sir.
He's got MS-13 on his knuckles.
All right.
Okay?
Well, we'll take a look at that.
You do such a disservice.
We'll take a look at that,
Why don't
sir.
you just say, yes, he does, and, go on to something else?
It's contested.
I'm so confused if he actually thinks this or if he's just trying to get him to say, yes, sir.
At the end, he goes, why don't you just say yes, he does? So there's so many, so that's the first clip. I'm scrolling Twitter. I didn't know this interview was coming out. And that was the first clip I saw of this interview, and it was like, holy shit, okay, this is not going well for Trump. So then I had to go look and find the whole thing. I found it on YouTube. So you know how we were saying earlier, like normally people doing interviews are trying to get a gotcha moment. They're trying to catch him saying something. What's remarkable about that is how quickly the interviewer tried to get off of that. He was like, well, let's just agree to disagree. That's something you'll never hear an interviewer say is let's just agree to disagree and move on. No, they want to try to pin you down on your comment. He kept trying to get off of this and go to Ukraine, and Trump was like, no, we're not leaving this topic yet. It says MS-13 on his knuckles. And I honestly didn't believe that Trump really thought that I thought he knew he's just saying it wrong, but he knows what's there. Coming out of that, I'm 100% certain that he doesn't realize that was Photoshopped on there. Like he thinks
like Stephen Miller is like, look at this, sir. It says MS-13 on his knuckles. We could use this as proof.
I think they handed it to him and said, hey, look, this is what this means. And then he looked at it and he thought, oh, the MS-13 are there on his knuckles in real life. And then once everybody realized, oh, shit, he thinks I think that's one of those where everybody was afraid to tell him, no, sir, you're seeing that wrong. So I'm curious to see.
They're telling him right now. And if so, do you think he's going to come out and apologize?
No. So he's going to do one of two things. He's going to either double down and continue to say that MS-13 is there, or he's going to try to say, oh, they're lying. I didn't say that. What I said was, and he's going to try to clean up his statement. I think there's a better chance he doubles down and just continues on with this. Anyhow, that was an amazing little segment there. And that's one of those where the fact that they're arguing over that
it reminds me of the man dog child TV.
Dude, like, the whole thing about like America can't even agree what the facts are, recently. Like, yeah, no, that's where we're at now, is we can't agree that that's photoshopped.
That's because the rights, if alternative facts is what the right has. That's all they have.
I wish that guy would have asked him to get the picture. Hey, bring the picture over here and let's take a look at it together and let's talk about this. But that
here are my glasses. You want to use my glasses?
Yeah.
Check this out.
I think he really believes it. Another notable clip from this. He's been telling El Salvador that the government's whole case on the El Salvador thing is like, hey, we would get him back if we could, but we can't. It's not up to us. It's up to the president of El Salvador. He said he's not giving back, so we did everything we could. That's pretty much been what's in their court filings. Okay, so this interviewer asks about El Salvador. Check this out again from ABC.
You could get him back. There's a phone on this desk.
I could.
You could pick it up, and with all the power of the presidency, you could call up the president of El Salvador and say, send him back right now.
And if he were the gentleman that you say he is, I would do that.
But the court has ordered you to facilitate that.
I'm not the one making this decision. We have lawyers that don't want to do this.
That's total BS.
Right off the bat, he said, you can pick up that phone and call him right now. And he goes, I could. And like, there's moments when Trump's doing an interview or a rally speech or whatever, and he'll say certain things. And I know it's fun to think that, like, right now, wherever his lawyers are watching this, they're wanting to shoot themselves in the head. They're like, oh, God, like, he's making our job so difficult. Because right there, that's going to be evidence in court tomorrow. As here's an interview with Trump saying that he could just make a call and get him back, but he doesn't want to. So that's where we're at. By the way, it came out today. Everybody's still hating on Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries. It came out today that Hakeem Jeffries told his whole conference, all the congressmen that are Democrats, not to go to El Salvador after Chris Van Horn went. Van Hollen. He told them all not to go, which at first I was like, oh, why? That seemed to be the one thing that was working. And then I kept reading. And did you know that after Van Hollen went, four Democrat congressmen went like 2 days later, made a trip down there?
No.
So after Van Hollen went back, everybody was like, oh, wow, this is a great way to get in the news. So they were all like 4 went right away and like 10 more had trips to go. And I actually think that Jeffries was right to be like, oh, hold on. Like, you guys are going to like Van Hollen is playing this really well. What did he say the other day? I'm not attesting for the man. I'm attesting for his rights. Like, Van Hollen found a nice lane to be in. All these other guys are going to go and fuck it up, and they're going to keep them all away. Let Van Hollen do this. So Jeffries is taking crap for that, but I'm actually on his side in that. It would all, whatever there are 208 of them, all 208 would have eventually gone down there, and then it would have been a joke by that point. So
sure, yeah.
Also, Van Hollen is the senator from the state where he lived. The guy in the prison, Abrego Garcia, his wife is a citizen and is a voter in Maryland. So you could say that Van Hollen has kind of jurisdiction there. Like, one of the people from his state that is a voter, their husband got deported illegally. He has a right to go down and figure this out. This is a member of his state. Some congressman.
Did he have a green card, or was he just
he was here
working his way through asylum?
He was on a work permit. Which I just learned this the other day. He first applied for a work permit during Trump's first administration in 2019 and got approved, and then reapplied every year and got approved every year. So the Trump administration approved of him being here in 2019. So anyhow, I don't want to get into him again. He's probably not coming back. But last clip, and this is one that I know has been irking you, so I decided to leave this in. Again, this is from ABC via The Bulwark.
You've gone after law firms because they've employed people you don't like, or they have represented people
they
you don't
obviously
like.
agreed because they paid me a lot of money.
Well, the reason they agreed is because you were threatening to destroy their business with your executive order that said you can't represent clients for the federal government. That's their bread and butter.
Boys. These are the biggest, most powerful lawyers. These are not people
you got a lot of leverage
are
as
easily
president.
intimidated.
As president, you've got all the cards.
I mean, they paid hundreds of millions of dollars because they felt, I guess, they probably felt they did something wrong.
It was for survival, sir.
No, it isn't.
You were crushing their business.
These firms are very powerful firms, and there's 15 of them. And these are firms that probably, well, look, you have to ask them. In fact, this is a separate story. You have to ask them, why did you all pay Trump hundreds of millions of dollars in services, etc.? Why did you do that? I don't know.
You don't think that
we have a clause in the thing that while we admit no wrongdoing, but you know, it's like one of those things. And now I'm friendly with those firms, but it's, you know, these are the most powerful firms in the world. And they just signed whatever I put in front of them. I've never seen anything like it. I'm actually surprised myself in a certain way. But they obviously felt they probably did something wrong. I guess that's why they signed.
That is wild.
So I'll tell you this, that makes me not even mad at Trump. That makes me really mad at the firms. Like, that's where I'm at. Like, so real quick to go back, the firms that signed at the time, they were very afraid because Trump made it to where they couldn't represent people that were basically in any kind of action against the government because he took away their security clearances. And their fear was that if we don't make the deal, then we won't be able to take on these high cases and all of our top talent will go to other firms. That was their argument, which kind of made sense. Like, I didn't agree with them backing down, but like I kind of understood that. You want to know what's actually happened in reality? The firms that agreed that bent the knee to him are now losing all their top talent to the firms that didn't. The ones that fought and said, no, we're not doing this. Lawyers are fleeing those firms and going to the ones that fought. And so it ended up hurting them in the long run.
Well, you know, I mean, everybody says that lawyers have no soul, right? But like, this is kind of showing the opposite if that's the case.
I don't know what percentage of them are leaving, but I know that that's suddenly a problem where they're trying to keep their good lawyers and they're not able to. So anyhow,
interesting.
But he goes, they just signed whatever I put in front of them. I was kind of shocked that they signed it. It's so sickening. Like,
it's very sickening.
Yeah.
I actually like this interviewer. Like, he's actually trying to hold his feet to the fire a little bit.
He did a good job, and I didn't see anything on it today, but I know they're going to say, oh, well, he's a liberal, that he was just there to try to trap the president, and blah, blah, blah. I thought he did a good job, and I thought he did just the right amount of pushback. Like, he never got nasty with him, but he did push back a little bit. So,
Right. Do you know his name?
You know what? He said it in one of those clips, but I don't know. Hold on a second.
Let me see. Interviewer.
Yeah, look it up.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we should give him a little bit of a praise here. What's his name?
Trump said, I picked you because nobody knows who you are, because I didn't know who you are.
I didn't even know who you are.
Yeah.
That's what he said. So he picked just a random guy. Like, how does that work? I'm so confused.
Well, and ABC, this is another fun fact. ABC settled that lawsuit with Trump just a little while ago. Did you figure out who it was?
Terry Moran?
Yeah, that's it. Terry Moran. Yeah, I'd never heard of him. But here's what's funny. ABC settled that lawsuit with Trump, and that whole lawsuit was because George Stephanopoulos, whatever his name is, on like the Sunday morning show, he said to somebody on air, he was interviewing somebody, and he said, well, Trump's convicted of rape. And what Trump was actually convicted of is sexual assault, not rape. And in New York, those are two different crimes. So Trump was trying to sue him for defamation, saying, hey, I was never convicted of rape. I was convicted of sexual assault. Everybody thought ABC would win that case because they're basically the same. But ABC didn't want to go through discovery where they would have had to turn over every email that mentions Trump from anybody in the company would have had to get turned over to Trump. Odds are people were talking shit about Trump, and that would have been embarrassing for them. So they settled just to get out of it.
Well, even the judge came out and clarified that this was rape.
The judge in New York came out and said, you could say it's rape, whatever. But they didn't. Again, they would have had to go through discovery, and they did not want to do that. So,
yeah, which is sad that they bent the knee. I wish everybody would just kind of fight Trump on this. And I mean, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. I feel like the lawyers need to kind of step up and start like helping everybody out. And like, I don't know.
Yeah.
As the American people, we all have to stand up and do something.
Right now, those are the only people that have been successful in stopping Trump has been lawyers and judges. And yet the judges, I'm hesitant to say that judges are stopping Trump because the judges are supposed to be just interpreting the law. Like that's what they're there to do. They're not stopping someone. They're saying, "Hey, this is
Right.
legal. This is not legal." The lawyers are doing the good work, so they're doing way better than the Senate did or the House. So yeah,
Yeah. And even the judges say, don't turn that plane around, and he didn't do that.
yeah. So and now that case is officially back on. I think as of like tomorrow, they're having a hearing on that because they failed to bring him back. Yeah, I think the judge gave them 1 week to try to get something done, and that week has expired. So. And now we've got the Trump. I could pick up the phone and get him back, but I don't want to. So
Oh, yeah.
that we'll see how that goes in court.
Okay.
Anyhow, that's all I got. I wanted to pull
We'll
more
see.
from that interview, but that interview was just off the rails. Next time I'll have stuff from the Chris Cuomo, Bill O'Reilly, Stephen A. Smith town hall. That'll be quite fascinating. I'll pull those clips tomorrow.
Man, dog, child, woman, MS-13.
Yes, he passed his cognitive test. So, anyhow, I will say, hey, real quick, I will say, Fox News has been kind of letting Trump have it. There was and I thought I added it in here, but apparently I didn't. But Fox News was talking about how gas price is actually higher than it was on Inauguration Day. Did I pull that up? I'm trying to think here.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't get that one for this. But they had, I want to say 4 or 5 different times today, they had like somebody on complaining about the state of the economy, like in not a good way towards Trump. So I kind of appreciation for Fox. They're telling the truth about the economy right now. I'm sure.
They can lie to their audience as much as they want, and they kind of do, but usually through omission. But the economy's not great. You can't like show the stock market ticker down and then say the economy's fantastic.
Yeah. Which surprisingly, after the Q1 numbers came out today, the stock market didn't do too terrible. It actually went up 141 points today. So
Yeah, we'll see that tomorrow.
we'll see. I think that I saw there's a guy named Weisenthal, Jeff or Joe Weisenthal, writes for like the Washington Post, I think. He's on all the podcasts I listen to. But he was saying he couldn't figure out like all the indicators in the economy are saying that things are about to get bad, yet people keep buying stocks, and he couldn't figure out what it is. And I guess he finally cracked the code. The people on Wall Street, like the smart investors, are not the ones buying it. It's all the people that use what are those apps like Robinhood or Peter Pan? There's some apps where you can do like anybody, me and you could do day trading, and
Yeah.
they've been trained to buy the dip. Like whenever the stocks dip down, you buy because it's going to go back up. So that's all they know is buy the dip no matter what. And they're not I don't want to say they're not smart enough, but they don't know how this all works, and they don't know how to look at other indicators in the economy and know, ooh, this is not a good dip to buy. So he thinks that's what's going on. People seem to think he's right there. I don't really know. But we've said before, the economy and the stock market is all about vibes. And if the vibes are still feeling good, then, you're going to keep buying
It's
it.
all about vibes, bro.
Yep.
We base our whole economy on vibes.
Yep. I believe it's faith. This is the last thing.
Concert.
The last thing I'm going to end on real quick. We got to get out of here because we're running out of time. Somebody today was on a podcast I was listening to was saying that MAGA is basically a religion now, and in Christianity, for example, like if something good happens, it's because God did it, and if something bad happens, it's because the devil did it. So it's never God's fault. If it's bad, it's the devil's fault, and that's kind of what you have with Trump versus the Democrats, or Trump versus Biden, whichever one you want to name. And if it's good, Trump did it. If it's negative, it's the Democrats, and that's he said it a lot better than me, but he made a lot of sense, and I was like, oh, that's MAGA it kind of has the same belief structure as a religion.
I think I mentioned this a while ago, but you know what's actually going to happen to our world
I'm
is
scared to ask.
there's going to be some sort of catastrophe. We're probably going to go into like a nuclear war with all these countries, and like most of the world's going to die except for a few MAGA folks. And for a few thousand years, they're not going to write anything down, but they're going to tell the stories of Donald Trump and how he saved the world. And then the next generation, the next like
the people
millennial people are just going to be worshiping Trump as the next Jesus.
That would I would hate that, but that's so the trajectory we're on. Like that makes sense right now, as far as like the people that rebuild the earth will be like worshiping God Trump. So yeah, I think you're onto something there. Good work, sir. So, all right, good to talk to you, buddy. I'll talk to you soon.
You as well. Later.
Later.